Can you spot what I did wrong into the pose? If not, then you need to continue watch this video. What's up guys, this is Samik Bera from Real Yoga here, and I help you to understand the anatomy behind yoga practices. There is a huge confusion within the yogic community about how to do a correct pigeon pose. So why do we do the pigeon pose in the first place? Well, it's one of the most basic hip stretching practice which is designed to stretch your hips and your inner and outer hips. We should practice it every day that we can keep our hips mobile. Why that so? Our lumbar spine has a natural arch, but when we sit in the sofa or in the chair for long hours, most of the times we curl our back even more, and that's create huge level of tension. Of course, there is people who have been wearing heels or doing a lot of strength exercise that also create a lot of tension onto your body, and that's when we move our spine out of in our original place, that's creating several spinal disorder or creating a lot of tension in our hips. The purpose of pigeon pose is most of the work supposed to be done on our hips, which lead us to the first mistake. Most of the time we try to listen the 90 degrees angle, and that's 90 degrees when you're trying to achieve, that is wrong. When you're doing a 90 degrees alignment on your pigeon pose and without understanding why you should be keeping your legs in 90 degrees, and that lead you to the first mistakes. Because if your body anatomy doesn't allow you to be in the 90 degree shape of your legs, and that's where you begin to create a huge level of tension, and that is not healthy based on your body anatomy. Number two, when you are putting a block under the glutes, you are elevating the hips up and depressing the knees down, and that lead you to the second mistakes. Because when you elevate your hips up and your knees are falling forward, the weight of your upper body weight intend to go forward, and that's where you create a lot of tension and compression, or I will say transfer a lot of weight on your knee joint rather than keeping the weight on your hips joint. Primary purpose of the posture is to keeping the weight on the hips joint, that we get to stretch our hips. Lastly, the final mistakes which we does is we try to arch our back without knowing that arching our back or squaring our hips, which elevating our hips off from the floor. The moment you're sitting bone off from the floor, you create a huge level of tension on your gluteal joints. Now, if you are stretching, you're supposed not to be creating a tension onto your glutes. So what is the right way to do a pigeon pose? Number one, your hips, sitting bone, supposed to be grounded on the hips. Why that so? Because when you sit, your sitting bone grounded on the hips, your gluteal muscles, they are rested and relaxed. They are not tense. Number two, you should not be trying to square the hips, because nothing to do with the squaring the hips. It's all about feeling the stretch or the right stretch based on your body anatomy. Lastly, the 90 degrees is a very common terms we yogis apply in a class. So you may be able to do a 90 degrees, or your body anatomy may not need to do the 90 degrees. That's perfectly alright. So right way of putting yourself in the pigeon pose to getting a right stretch onto your glutes, because our glutes, we have a 10 muscles, and these 10 muscles to stretch to keep our hips really healthy, that increasing the blood circulations as well as giving a nice shape and the size of our joints in our body. Because when your hips joint, which we call joints of the whole lower body, supporting well, our upper body can breathe better. Means if you has a good joints on your hips, which your hips can do internal and external rotation, that's increase a lot of mobility, not only in your femur bone as well as in your sacroiliac joints and your lumbar region, so you can avoid a lot of back pain as well. If you want to know even more details that what will be the right alignment, a pigeon pose based on your body anatomy, and also why one side you have a more tightness, pain or injury compared to your other side, that's where I'm here for you. Look for me, my classes, personal training, as well as the workshops at Singapore or any other part of the world. I'm here for you to help you and teach you what will be the right pose you should be practicing based on your body anatomy, and that will be giving you an injury-free practice. Namaste.